Think you can't have a lush garden in the shade? Well, prepare to have that myth busted. Many believe that the lack of direct sunlight hampers plant growth. But that's not the whole story. There's an array of plants that not only survive but thrive in the shadows. They bring life, color and beauty to those less sunny spots in your garden. So, let's dive into the world of shade-loving plants and turn that shady corner of your garden into a flourishing paradise. But first, what exactly qualifies as shade in gardening terms? Now, you might be surprised to learn that shade isn't just one blanket term. In the world of horticulture, we distinguish between full shade and partial shade. Full shade refers to areas that receive less than 3 hours of direct sunlight each day, while partial shade zones get 3 to 6 hours. But why bother with shaded areas, you may wonder? Well, embracing these areas opens up a whole new realm of gardening possibilities. Shaded zones can provide a sanctuary for plants that might struggle in the harsh glare of full sun. Plus, they offer a cool retreat on sweltering summer days, creating a serene, calming atmosphere in your garden. So, don't write off that shady corner just yet. Instead, let's delve into the world of shade-loving plants. With a better understanding of shade, we can now explore plants that thrive in these conditions. Let's start with a crowd favorite, the versatile and hardy hostas. These perennials come in a breathtaking array of sizes and leaf colors, from deep green to almost white, some even sporting variegated leaves. They're perfect for bringing a splash of color to those shady corners of your garden. And the best part? They require minimal care, making them a great choice for both novice and experienced gardeners. Next up, we have the ferns. These ancient plants are a must-have in any shade garden thanks to their lush green foliage. They come in a range of shapes and sizes, with some varieties growing up to 6 feet tall. Ferns are the epitome of grace and elegance. They sway gently with the breeze, adding a dynamic element to your garden. They prefer damp, well-drained soil, so be sure to water them regularly, especially during dry spells. Now let's talk about astilbes. These shade-loving beauties are known for their feathery blooms, which add a delightful pop of color to any shaded spot. From pink to red, purple to white, their flowers stand tall above the foliage, attracting attention from every corner. Astilbes are also fairly low maintenance, but they do appreciate a bit of extra care. Regular watering and a yearly dose of compost or organic matter will keep them blooming year after year. And last, but certainly not least, we have rhododendrons. These shrubs are a true showstopper thanks to their large, vibrant flowers. Rhododendrons can grow quite large, so they're perfect for creating a focal point in your shade garden. They prefer slightly acidic soil, so be sure to test your soil's pH level before planting. And remember, although they love the shade, they also need a bit of morning sun to truly thrive. Each of these plants has its own unique charm and characteristics, and all of them can thrive in the shade. But remember, shade doesn't mean zero sunlight. Even shade-loving plants need some light to photosynthesize. So, when choosing the perfect spot for your new plant, aim for a place that gets a bit of morning or late afternoon sun, but is shaded during the hottest part of the day. And one more thing, don't forget about the soil. Shade-loving plants tend to prefer rich, well-drained soil. So, before you plant, take some time to prepare the soil. Add plenty of organic matter, such as compost or well-rotted manure, to improve the soil's fertility and drainage. These plants not only survive but truly thrive in the shade, bringing both color and life to those less sunlit spots. So, next time you're lamenting over that dark corner of your garden, remember these shade-loving champions. They might just turn that problem area into your new favorite spot. Now that we know which plants to grow, how do we design a shade garden that is both functional and aesthetically pleasing? Designing a shade garden is much like arranging a living room. You have to consider the size, shape, and the direction of the light. Start by observing how the light moves throughout the day. This will help you understand which areas receive low light and which ones are in deep shade. The key is to create a balance. In areas with dappled sunlight, think of using hostas with their striking variegated foliage. For those deep shade corners, ferns can be your go-to, with their lush green fronds adding a touch of the tropics. But it's not just about the plants. Hardscaping elements can add depth and interest to your shade garden. Think of a winding path covered with moss or creeping thyme, leading the eye through the garden. If you have a large tree casting a shadow, why not build a cozy bench under its canopy? It's a perfect spot to sit, relax, and enjoy the quiet. Water features also work wonders in a shade garden. They reflect any available light, brightening up the darkest corners. Plus, the sound of trickling water adds a soothing ambiance. You could consider a small pond or even a simple bird bath. Rocks too can play an important role. They not only add a rugged charm, but also reflect light and provide a contrasting texture to the soft foliage. From large boulders to pebble pathways, the options are endless. And finally, consider color. Yes, shade gardens can be full of color. Astilbes with their feathery blooms ranging from white to pink and red, or rhododendrons with their vibrant flowers, these can be your paintbrushes. Remember, it's all about layering, taller plants at the back, medium ones in the middle, and ground covers at the front. This creates a sense of depth, making your garden look lush and full. With these design tips, your shade garden will be far from drab and dreary. It will be a haven, a retreat, a magical space that invites you to step in and explore. So, roll up your sleeves and let your creativity bloom in the shade. Growing plants in the shade does come with its unique set of challenges. Let's discuss how to care for and maintain these plants. Firstly, soil is the foundation of any garden, shade or sun. However, shade gardens often need a particular type of soil. A well-draining, fertile soil is generally the best bet. It can be achieved by adding organic matter like compost or well-rotted manure. This not only improves soil structure but also adds essential nutrients. Watering needs can vary greatly. While it's a common misconception that shade plants need less water, the truth is, they can often dry out quickly, particularly if they're under large trees that suck up a lot of moisture. So, it's crucial to keep a check on your garden's moisture levels. Water thoroughly, but infrequently, allowing the soil to dry out between waterings. Overwatering can cause root rot, which can quickly kill your plants. However, don't forget that every plant has its unique needs. Some might prefer consistently moist soil, while others can tolerate periods of dryness. It's always a good idea to research the specific watering needs of your plants. Now let's talk about pests and diseases. Like all gardens, shade gardens can attract their share of pests. Slugs and snails are common nuisances, particularly for hostas and other leafy plants. Consider using organic deterrents like crushed eggshells or copper tape to keep them at bay. Fungal diseases can also be a problem in shady, damp conditions. To prevent this, ensure there's good air circulation around your plants. Prune any overhanging branches that might be making your garden too damp. Also, try to water in the morning so that any excess moisture can evaporate throughout the day. Lastly, remember that plants in the shade grow slower than their sun-loving counterparts. They might not need as much fertilizing, so be careful not to overfeed them. A slow-release organic fertilizer should do the trick. With the right care and maintenance, your shade garden can flourish all year round. Don't just take our word for it, let's hear from some people who have successfully grown these plants in their shade gardens. First, meet Harriet from Maine, who transformed her garden's shady corner into a lush haven of ferns. She says, "I never thought I could do much with that spot, but now it's my favorite part of the garden. The ferns are so easy to care for and they look beautiful all year round." Then there's Jake from Oregon, who's a big fan of hostas. He shares, "Hostas are incredibly versatile. I love the variety in size and leaf color. My garden doesn't get a lot of sunlight, but these plants have been thriving." And finally we have Lisa from California. She's found success with astilbes, adding a splash of color to her shaded garden. She exclaims, "Astilbes are wonderful. Their feathery blooms really brighten up my garden and they're surprisingly low maintenance." As these stories show, a successful shade garden is within everyone's reach. So there you have it, a comprehensive guide to shade gardening. We've debunked the myth, introduced you to the world of shade-loving plants, offered design tips, and shared some success stories. Now it's time to experiment. Try out hostas, ferns, astilbes, or rhododendrons and see your shaded spots come alive. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We'd love to hear about your shade gardening experiences in the comments below. Until next time, happy gardening!